They say some men can smell fear like it's a cologne they put on before they do something awful. I learned that line the night I walked into a dockside bar in East Baltimore. They call the Gray Hook a place that feels sticky even if you never touch a thing. I wasn't there to drink. I was there to meet a jittery rookie who promised me documents, payrolls, shell companies, names. I write stories people wish I wouldn't. I was raised on bases, moved every 2 to 3 years, taught to keep my back to a wall and my keys between my fingers. My dad's a quiet man, square jaw uniform that never sat wrong, General Elias Hart. The kind of father who taught you to make your own luck and memorize escape routes like multiplication tables. I ordered a club soda. The bartender smirked like I told a joke that didn't land. 10 minutes passed. My source didn't show. What did show was a shadow sliding into the booth across from me. Lieutenant Brent Sawyer, the kind of cop who carries his badge like a permission slip to be cruel. Thick neck wedding ring off coppery breath. That look, the one that tries to make you feel like you owe him something just because he's looking at you. A woman like you shouldn't drink alone, he said, flattening the air between us. He didn't ask. He announced, I'm waiting for someone. I told him eyes on the door, hands loose, shoulders relaxed the way you do before a sprint. He's not coming, he said, and snapped 2 fingers for whiskey. Lucky night though I am. I laughed too small, too polite, and tried to move. His hand clamped my wrist. That's when my brain split into 2 clean tracks. One kept talking, please let go, steady even, and the other counted. Beats and exits, 2 out front, 1 in the kitchen, 1 maybe through the stockroom. My thumb found the button pattern engraved into muscle memory, down, 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 hold up, kestrel. You practice it so many times it feels like superstition. And then one tiny buzz in the palm of my hand told me it wasn't. We're having a drink, he said. Then we're going to finish this conversation somewhere quieter. Lieutenant, I said, looking him in the eyes because I refused to train my body to look away. Take your hand off me now. For a second, he blinked like he'd found a spine where he expected jelly. Fury replaced surprise. He hauled me to my feet, announced to the room I'd assaulted an officer, the audience loved that, and marched me past the pool table, the turned heads, the small smiles that say, thank God it's not me. He took me down a narrow stairwell that smelled like bleach in old rain and into a basement lined with dented file boxes and a single wooden chair someone had added straps to. Professional, practiced, not their first. They zip-tied me in like they were late to dinner. I tasted metal, thought about breathing the way Staff Sergeant Page taught me when I was 16 and 4 hold, 7 out 8. It puts a lid on panic and buys your brain a little room to work. Sawyer pulled up a chair, turned it backwards, straddled it like a high school bully who peaked sophomore year. You disrespected me upstairs, he said. We can fix that. I looked at him the way you look at a boy who just told you he's the first person to discover the ocean. He wanted pleading fear, the little tremble some men think they're owed. I gave him calm. That's the thing about growing up with quiet professionals. You learn that the loudest thing in any room is insecurity. Is this why you joined the job, I asked. A basement, a woman tied to a chair. That's your make a difference story. Watch your mouth, he snapped. He paced a circle, pulled his phone, checked my name. I could read it on his face when he didn't find anything worth scaring him. That was deliberate. If the world thinks you're a nobody, nobody comes looking when you go missing. Unless you're mine, he leaned in. Down here, I'm the law. I'm God. He hit me. Open, hand sharp, the kind of slap designed to let you know who writes the rules. My cheek burned. The bulb overhead hummed. Far away in a windowless room, some call the Raven desk, a tiny red dot on a map went from curious to absolutely not. I didn't know that then. I just knew I had to keep my center of gravity low and my hope even lower. 90 miles south, a captain with caffeine breath called a number barely anyone gets to dial. My dad stepped out of a briefing and didn't raise his voice. What assets are closest? It's funny what sticks with you that night. I kept thinking about his hands, how still they always were, even when the world wasn't. Back in the basement, the lieutenant's voice changed, key softer, uglier. He unbuckled his belt. The bulb flickered once, twice, and the world went black. Not quiet, though. If you've ever heard a door disappear, you know that heavy puff of air, like a thrown pillow slamming the room. Then the white sun of a flash, and right after the sweetest sound I've ever heard, the soft stutter of suppressed rifles, precise and unhurried, like someone writing in cursive you don't get to read. 3 red dots drifted on the wall like laser moths. Boots flowed down the stairs, not stomping, just arriving steady like a promise being kept. One peeled toward me, blade quick at my wrists, voice steady in the storm. "Ma'am, can you move my face?" I said, because sometimes your brain chooses tiny details when it can't carry big ones. "We've got you," he said, and put his body between me and everything bad in that room. Sawyer shot blind 2 panicked bangs that told me he'd never trained for a night like this. 2 soft replies told him that didn't matter. He screamed when the pistol left his hand in 3 pieces and his knuckles stopped being knuckles. The team swept the room in seconds the way people who don't need victory laps do. The operator by my side steadied me like we'd met before in calmer weather. "Who are you?" Sawyer croaked, blood stringing off his fingers, and that would have been funny if anything was. He still lunged, not at the men with rifles, at me. I didn't think. I dropped my weight, drove a palm into the soft hinge of his jaw the way I'd practiced against a heavy bag and a patient instructor who wore a smile and big forearms. He pitched into a shelf. A single breath later came one soft cough, not cinematic, not big, and he folded in on himself like a letter nobody needed to read again. Thread ended, the team leader said, not unkindly, just fully done. Upstairs, glass crunched. The team moved through the bar like they were erasing pencil lines. No cheering, no trash talk. There's a kind of silence that feels like competence. You learn to trust it. They walked me into a back alley I'd never have found in daylight. A van door slid open. The team leader tilted his helmet, clicked a switch. "Miss Hart," he said, and the miss hit me harder than the slap your father is on. I put the earpiece in and didn't say hello. "I'm okay," I told him before he could ask, because I knew that's what he needed first. He exhaled, not big, not dramatic, just enough to tell me he'd been holding his breath while the world kept spinning. "Good girl," he said, and I could hear the years in those 2 syllables. "You did everything right. At the safe house, bacon smell in the vents, thermal blanket like a hotel robe that knows things a medic cleaned my cheek." Dawn turned the river soft gold, and I realized I was shaking because there wasn't anything left to hold. My dad arrived looking like the hours had walked on him. He didn't ask questions. He didn't say, "I told you," or "Why'd you go alone?" He just held me until my body remembered it lived inside someone who was safe. There weren't any headlines. There were no press conferences. The gray hook went dark with a little paper taped to its door that said "closed for renovations," and then it never reopened. Files that should have been used as weapons became ash or something close to it. The story some folks told in whispers was that Sawyer transferred or retired or flipped on somebody fatter. The true story didn't want to be seen, and I won't be the one to drag it into the sun. What I will say is this: people talk about monsters like they're rare, but the real trouble is how ordinary they look. Wedding rings tucked in pockets, laughter that sounds like a coach congratulating you, words like "calm down" and "don't make this worse." The hook is always the same: make you feel small, alone, imaginary. That's the trick. That's the only trick. Here's what else I'll say, and I know this part is messy. The thing that saved me that night wasn't an institution. It was not a badge or policy or a rule book someone could ignore. It was love with logistics. It was the quiet kind of power that doesn't want credit and therefore doesn't need permission. I think about that when people ask me if the system can police itself. Maybe it can. Maybe it tries. But sometimes the night is too loud and the stairs are too steep and the door at the top needs to stop existing right now. And the only answer is competence that refuses to announce itself. Do I wish it had ended in a courtroom, cross-exams evidence, a verdict we all agree on? I do. I also know the man who told me he was God hit me in a room he built for hurting people. And if there's a universe where he made it to arraignment without hurting anyone else that night, I didn't live in it. I still carry the little scar on my cheek, faint, almost polite. It itches when a bar gets too loud or when I smell bleach on a rainy day. I can walk past a pool table and feel my fingers count 1, 2, 3 without asking me first. I'm not broken. I'm not brave on command either. I'm just awake in a way I wasn't before. You probably want a neat ending. Good guys win, bad guys lose lesson learned. I don't have one. I have a father who doesn't sleep right when my phone is off. I have a city that pretends not to know what everyone knows. I have a story I'm still deciding how to tell, or if I should tell it at all. So I'll ask you instead, if you'd been me tied to that chair, hearing the belt slide, would you have wanted the process or the rescue as justice, something that has to be witnessed to be real? Or can it be quiet and still count? And if you've seen a uniform used like a weapon, any uniform, tell me what happened and what you think should have happened. Drop your city, your truth. I'm reading. We all are.